The FBI, by the way, is now investigating a hunting stand circled there, found near Palm Beach Airport with a direct line of sight to President Trump's Air Force One exit area.
Madeline Rivera is live in Washington with the details. Maddie, was it built there to go hunting or for other reasons?
That's what investigators are looking into right now, Ainsley. A spokesperson for the Secret Service says agents found the hunting stand while doing advanced security preparations ahead of President Trump's arrival in West Palm Beach on Friday. FBI Director Kash Patel saying no individuals were located at the scene and that the FBI has since taken the investigatory lead, flying in resources to collect all evidence from the scene and deploying our cell phone analytics capabilities. The discovery prompted the president's team to make more security measures at Palm Beach International Airport, and that's why we saw the president walking up Air Force One using the small stairs on Sunday as he made his way back to D.C. A law enforcement source tells Fox News Digital the hunting stand appears to have been set up months ago across the street from the airport. You see it there in the trees. A Secret Service spokesman saying while we are not able to provide details about the specific items or their intent, this incident underscores the importance of our layered security measures. President Trump's security came under scrutiny last year after 2 attempted assassinations. Just last month, Ryan Ruth was found guilty of trying to assassinate President Trump as he hid along the tree line of the president's golf club in West Palm Beach. Coming up later this morning, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino will be appearing in the show to talk about the hunting stand and the latest in the investigation. So we'll perhaps know more about that question that you asked earlier, Ainsley. Back to you guys.
Thanks. And by the way, what a discovery. Whoever discovered that.
Thank goodness.
Israel-Hamas ceasefire is still in effect despite terrorists attacking and killing 2 Israeli soldiers yesterday morning, followed by the IDF launching retaliatory strikes. The Israeli army announcing on X, quote, the IDF will continue to uphold the ceasefire agreement and will respond firmly to any violation of it. This as President Trump's chief Middle East negotiator, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner spoke out for the first time since getting the Gaza ceasefire, and they offered insight into the return of the remaining hostages held by Hamas.
One worrisome issue, whether Hamas is dragging its feet in returning the remains of deceased Israeli hostages. Are you saying publicly right now that Hamas is acting in good faith, seriously looking for the bodies?
As far as we've seen from what's being conveyed to us from the mediators, they are so far. That could break down at any minute, but right now we have seen them looking to honor their agreement.
National security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant joins me now. Dr. Grant, good morning. It's great to see you. Let's start with that 60 Minutes interview because there was a lot in it. What was your main takeaway from what they had to say?
What an incredibly powerful team. And Trump has picked 2 fantastic negotiators. They said at the end that it's very delicate and they're really going to have to stay on top of the situation, which is why we have both Witkoff and Kushner back in the Middle East today. I was struck that they had met in person with the 4 Hamas negotiators, and how much that Israeli strike on Doha in Qatar had been a turning point where they seized the opportunity to get the Arab world aligned to pressure Hamas and then bring Israel on board. Stunning interview.
Yeah, and over the weekend, the ceasefire deal came very close to falling apart with Hamas launching a deadly strike that killed 2 IDF soldiers and then Israel launching a series of retaliatory strikes. And then, as you said, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are back in Israel this morning, and the White House is considering sending Vice President J.D. Vance as well. So taken as a whole, what does all of that indicate to you as to where things stand right now?
Well, I think we're still in a good place. Israel had to respond after those Hamas fighters came out of a tunnel down in Rafah, but the ceasefire is back in place at this point. There will be tense moments, but Trump is going to get this done. The next key we're looking for is that international stabilization force. We may have troops from Turkey, Indonesia, other countries. They will get organized, go in, and then begin to train a pro-Palestinian force to govern Gaza. It's going to be tense moments until that happens, and expect very careful oversight by our U.S. military. providing, I think, some of the command and control there from Israel.
All right, let's talk about the war in Ukraine, because last week President Trump held this very long phone call with Vladimir Putin, and then on Friday met with Vladimir Zelensky at the White House. There's been a lot of discussion about ceding territory and how much. Here is the latest on that from the president yesterday. Watch this.
No, we never discussed it. We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. The rest is very tough to negotiate. Go home, stop killing people, and be done. Let it be cut the way it is. It's cut up right now. I think 78% of the land is already taken by Russia. I said cut and stop at the battle line. Go home, stop fighting, stop killing people.
What do you think about that, freezing the battle lines as a solution?
I'd love to see every Russian out of Ukraine, but right now, freezing the battle line is a pretty good deal for Ukraine long term. Russia has never taken all the last piece of Donetsk and the Donbass, partly because they're important fortified lines. But if that battle line freezes there, I'm telling you, Carly, Ukraine is going to need about 1,000 new tanks to defend that border and a lot of security guarantees from NATO, because the menace of Russia is not going away.
And Ukraine would welcome those tanks and those security guarantees, to say the least. Dr. Grant, thank you for joining us this morning.
Now we turn to the other major news story. Hamas once again showed you who they are after lying about the bodies of dead hostages. Hamas created more business for morgues by executing Palestinian civilians. For those who claim to love due process, there isn't much when you're put on your knees and shot in the back of the head. President Trump spoke about the timeline for Hamas disarming.
Is there a timeline to get Hamas to disarm?
They're very violent. 50,000 of them have been killed, okay? You know, they get replaced by other people, young people, but we're going to find out. So it's not a hard timeline, but it's a line in my own mind. And at a certain point, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then we'll have to do it for them.
Despite that warning, Hamas is actively undermining this nascent peace agreement. Joining us is Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Leiter. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for joining us. First, I want our viewers to know that you lost a son who was a soldier and a medical doctor as part of this conflict with Hamas. So while the issue is personal for many, you have felt the sting in the most significant way of all.
Well, I have, Trey. Thank you for mentioning that. It's good to be with you. As a matter of fact, today we lost two soldiers, one 26, one 21 years old, when Hamas fired anti-tank missile at troops that were just standing beyond the yellow line. And then when medics came to take care of them, snipers fired at them. We had another 3 injured. So when I heard the news, it brought me back to that night when I got the knock on the door, when I was told by the officers that my oldest son, who led forces into Gaza on the first day of the war and fought for 13 days until he went into a Hamas booby trap tunnel, was killed. So I identify very much with the parents and the family who got the knock on the door today, because Hamas, again, violated the ceasefire.
Yeah, and that kind of raises my next question, Ambassador. I mean, no one doubts Hamas is going to sabotage this agreement. The question is just how, and will it be sufficient to break this fragile peace deal? I mean, they don't want peace, but can this deal even withstand Hamas?
Well, it's a great question, Trey, and actually we'll see what happens in the next couple of days and weeks. The president has invested an awful lot in this deal, and it wouldn't have happened without the influence that President Trump brought to bear. There's no question about that, on Qatar and the Turks. And they're going to have to hold Hamas's feet to the fire. This is a ghoulish, fiendish organization that celebrates in death. It's a death cult, really. And what they did on October 7th is something they'll repeat tomorrow if they're not stopped. And that's why this deal that the president brokered is so important, because as he emphasizes repeatedly since it was signed, Hamas has to completely be disarmed and Gaza has to be demilitarized. And they committed to turning over our hostages. Now, we still have 16 bodies. I mean, they're keeping bodies of the people they killed. Even the mafia remembers where they keep the bodies of the people they bump off. These people have 16 of our citizens that they're holding on to, and they're not releasing them. And under the agreement, they were supposed to give us all the living and dead hostages in 72 hours. That's long gone. So we're waiting for that to happen. We cannot move into the second phase until all of our hostages are released. We have great faith in the negotiating capabilities of Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. They're doing an incredible job, and there's a lot of hope here. But again, we are dealing with a very, very bloody terrorist organization that has no moral scruples whatsoever.
Yeah, and for those Americans who like to celebrate Hamas, keep in mind Israel released certain Palestinians that were being held only for those Palestinians to be put on their knees and executed without a trial, by the way, for my liberal friends in the United States. I mean, what sense does that make to get people as part of an exchange and then execute them in the street in Gaza?
Again, these people have absolutely no moral scruples whatsoever. And look, they're responsible for the damage that's been wrought on Gaza. I mean, they created 450 miles of terror tunnels in an area that's 24 miles long and 8 miles wide. And the people that they claim to represent are the people who have suffered, and they brought this suffering upon them. Look, we cannot have jihadis living at our border. That's the lesson of October 7th. We can't have jihadis in the south, in the north, in the Golan Heights. No country in the world would tolerate 40,000 armed terrorists to the teeth that believe in annihilating you living at your border. It wouldn't be the case in any state of the 50 United States or any country in Europe. Wouldn't tolerate this, and we can't tolerate it either. So we're very hopeful moving forward that we're going to get this peace agreement that President Trump has invested in. And if anybody could bring it, it is he. But we really have to hold Hamas's feet to the fire on this. We have to see their firing at our troops stop completely. We have to see all of our hostages released, and then perhaps, hopefully, we can move into the second phase of disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. Then there's hope for the future.
And oh, by the way, if Hamas stops shooting and returns the remains, then the humanitarian routes can open, and the Palestinian people who have been impacted, this can also be helped. But Hamas doesn't think like that.
We have continued to flood, despite these ridiculous accusations of starvation and genocide. You know, it's easy to beat up on Jews throughout history, and now you beat up on the Jewish state. We have continued the flow of humanitarian aid throughout this entire process. And there's been an excess of caloric intake that we've flooded Gaza with, and these accusations that we were holding up humanitarian aid are simply not true. Today, we warned Hamas, and we said, look, if this continues, if you continue to violate this ceasefire and this peace accord, you don't turn over the bodies, and you continue to shoot in our soldiers, we're going to have no choice but to close the Rafah crossing and to hold up any humanitarian aid coming in, because they're using it to reconstitute themselves and implement this terror reign that they have over the citizens of Gaza and over our troops.
We are hoping against history, because that is not the history of Hamas, but we are hoping nonetheless. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.
It's good to be with you.